All right. We're back for another episode of the Bad Ideas podcast with Rob Turley, the RevOps Hitman. And wait, we're going to assign a new name to Rob, the Impossible Problem Solver. I'm stealing that from you from our conversation a second ago. What do you
That's
think?
fine.
Yeah. Want to give us like 30, 40 seconds on, your background, what you spend your time doing, and, where all the insight that we're about to get comes from?
Sure, sure. So I come from a design background originally. It makes no sense. I know. Then working in UX, UI, you understand how people work, how they interface with things, how things are created, and how people work with those different materials or products or whatever it may be. And you start understanding the dichotomy of a human being where we think we're building something intuitive, but then nobody else is using it the way that you intended. There's a problem there. So
Yeah.
it kind of brought light to a lot of different ways, creative ways of solving problems. So I'll never take back that experience. But then went into the software world. From the software world, doing UX UI into artificial intelligence, owned and ran an artificial intelligence company for about 4.5 years. And after doing
Before it
so,
was
there's a whole
cool.
history before that, but I won't get into it. It's too long.
Yes.
But after that, I was by demand. People were asking, "Hey, can you be a consultant? I want you to consult me." I was like, you know what? I was taking a 6-month hiatus because I was burnt out from that experience, and just ended up starting the consulting company. Adopted the name RevOps Hitman Consulting Company because that nickname was given to me by a magazine, and it stuck, and I couldn't shake it off. I actually hated it at first, but then learned to love it. I guess if you can't beat them, join them, and it's free marketing. Fun stuff, though. After doing that, revenue operations was a huge part of the AI company that I co-founded. The problem is that this was way before AI was like something considered feasible at all, right? This was about 5-6 years ago. We built something incredibly advanced, and everybody thought it was rainbows and sunshine. Anybody who adopted it, they weren't able to use it. We had to restructure their data, restructure their operations, restructure their data processes across the entire company because they were not AI ready. From then, me being the only person who was able to do it in the company, that was a lot of work, right? Just to get clients to use the product, that had to happen. And then that translates to the consulting that I do now, where for revenue operations, business process optimization, process architecture, all that fun stuff. So I'm a complex problem solver by trade.
Awesome. All right. We're going to give you hopefully complex, but really, really bad problem to riff on in about 10 seconds. You ready for the bad idea? No. So here's the process. I'll read the bad idea. Like I told you a minute ago, we'll spend 5-6 minutes talking about why it's awful, and then try to solve the impossible problem. You ready?
Yep. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. So the bad idea is it's a reverse CRM. Delete customer information after each successful sale.
Well, I would. I'm actually kind of embarrassed to say that type of thing pretty much already exists in existing sales processes that I've seen before.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So they keep a spreadsheet of customers, not even a CRM, but it's a CRM. All CRM is, for anybody who doesn't know, it's just a glorified spreadsheet. That's all it is, with features and functionality. A lot of companies out there, about 12% of them, still use spreadsheets to run their business, or it's on paper, which is abhorrent, but it is what it is, right? A lot of people are living in the past. But after they would sell the customer, because they were sold, they would delete the lists of people who were sold because they already did business with them. So get rid of it. I've seen this before, and it's horrifying. It's like, okay, try to upsell, try to resell, try to do whatever with that data, or understand who you sell to, or model it out to understand, okay, this is my target. They had no idea of data actionability and what it actually meant to their company. They had no idea about any pursuit or process of trying to upsell, cross-sell, and et cetera.
So it's totally blind. And there's no ability to prevent trying to sell to the same person again improperly, right? Because they're deleted as a record.
Yeah. And then how do you even know who you sold to in the past? You're going to embarrass yourself by reaching out to the same person saying, hey, do you want to buy this? Oh, I already bought it. How does that work? How does that work for a company?
Yeah, that's a horrible idea. I think this is one of those things where there's so much sales enablement tech out there that people don't really understand. It's like shiny object syndrome, where you release something new and you call it new and you promise like an instant increase of X percentage in revenue so people buy it. That's, you could get away with something like this. by angling it as something that forces focus. But I think it's an awful idea because, like you said, the modeling on the past data is the most valuable part of your CRM. It's not even organizing your present deals. It's understanding how long it takes to close and what types of customers buy what the average deal size is, so on. It's that
an accurate
predictability that you want to get
forecast
to.
is invaluable. And it's not just that you have your current pipeline, you have your
Yeah.
future pipeline. Most people only focus on the current pipeline. With the current
Hmm.
pipeline, what people are trying to do is that they're trying to prioritize their leads. They're trying to hit a quota. They're trying to niche it down, understand who they can sell to today. But that's less than 3% of the market at any given time. And that's your obtainable market. It's less than 3%. It's not useful, right? And they're loading up leads in there that shouldn't be sold in the first place because of the quotas. Then you get your future pipeline. Not a lot of companies are focused on that, shockingly. Your future pipeline is worth more than your current pipeline because you can partner with the customer, nurture the customer, and then you can also combat your competition because they're going to go with whoever they trust. If you go, okay, I love it when salespeople, they're like, oh, I don't need this now, but in 6 months, contact me. They put a task for 6 months from that day to reach out to that individual.
Already
Do you think they're going to remember who you are by the time you reach out again? And by the time you reach out, they're already in market for it. So all the blood, guts, and fins are flying around because everybody's trying to sell to them that exact point in time. You want to have sold them beforehand. So they call you and go, hey, Nick, I'm ready to go.
Ready. There you go. Which is hard to do if you're deleting the contact.
There's
What's the third part?
too, which is your channel. How do you sell through partnerships and all that stuff? But all those three are the trifecta to controlled explosive scale. That's what you want, but you need all three. You can't just do two. If you want consistent over target performance, if you want to always sell hot or nearly as much as you can, right? And then if you want to not cannibalize next quarter's pipeline, all three of those different attributes need to be into play.
And you should not delete your customers from your CRM after you close them, ideally, right?
One of my favorite things that I see is that when people, even if they have a CRM, their clients, because they didn't set up their opt-out properly, they're sending them a bunch of marketing crap. They don't want the marketing crap. They opt out, and it does a full opt-out of all communication because it's not segmented out or you don't have it split. So that means legally, you can no longer contact your actual customer.
Oops.
Yeah, Oops. Which is kind of like a...
So it's this idea, right? All right. So you've already kind of listed two places that you've seen this very thing. I mean, what did it do to the business outside of just managing your company on a spreadsheet? Like, what did it do to the businesses? Like, just take the opt-out example. Like, you're torching your current customers. What is their... I mean, it's got to be lumpy revenue, right? Because you're going through cycles.
It is, but those companies, it depends. If it's the U.S., it's the Wild West of data, right? Even if someone's opted out, you can still hit them up. Nothing's going to happen unless you're in California or New York, right? Otherwise, it's pretty much the Wild West. But let's say if you're doing business with, overseas with the UK, and they do a full opt-out, and you reach out to them, they can sue the shit out of you for reaching out to them again. Even though they're your customer, they still have the option. So there's too much risk there. A lot of these CRM systems are built for international business too, where if they are full opted out, it won't even let you send an email. It'll actually deny it. The server will reject it. So that's what happens. So upselling pretty much becomes a thing of the past, not going to happen. And then you're not engaging with your customers. Your CS team can't reach out to them. You can't do your quarterly value reports or QBRs. You can't do your recon processes for your CS. You can't do anything. You can't send them surveys, nothing, because your system is automatically rejecting all of that. So yeah, your attrition rate or your churn rate is going to increase, and your upsell/cross-sell rate was going to decrease substantially. So it creates all of these problems with people who don't have a spreadsheet, or even worse, some people I've spoken to say, do you have a CRM? No. Do you use spreadsheets? No. I just remember all of it. That is insanity. I can't even remember what I ate for breakfast. And you're going to say that you remember exactly what this person needed when they pushed it out 3 months? No way. Not a chance in hell. So how are you going to actually track all this, understand what's going on, and have a grip on your sales pipeline? But yes, it'll impact your sales very negatively, and it will halt scale almost entirely. It's not scalable, and your growth, you're probably going to plateau. And if you're not growing, you're dying. It's eventually going to decrease unless you make real change happen. Status quoitis is what I call it. It's the do nothing disease. So status quoitis, the do nothing disease. It is terminal. But there's a cure. The cure
What's the cure?
is allowing change to happen and taking initiative.
Mm-hmm. There you go. There's probably like a partner at a PE firm watching this right now, thinking, I need to create this CRM and install it in some companies I'd like to acquire so I can get a better multiple.
If it's a PE firm and they're acquiring companies that aren't using a CRM properly, their due diligence process needs some serious fucking reflection.
Well, I mean, doesn't that highlight opportunity though, right? If the company's doing okay and the numbers look decent and their CRM setup is awful, isn't that the easiest place to drive lift right away?
Part of what I do for a living is digging people out of holes.
Yeah.
And that particular hole is one of them.
Yeah.
The amount of technical debt that racks up, reframing the entire organization, having the team adopt the new technology, the learning curve, having them actually play by the rules, tracking the data that you want, you're going to see a massive company-wide revolt, which is going to halt operations. And that's the usual case scenario. You have to do change management as you go, but you have to coach, train, do everything with all these people, set up all the process. You need to find out who the customers are. The amount of lift that comes with it is going to cost you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to get yourself out of that situation. So is it really a benefit? Yes, you can do that, but you need to be prepared to go through that entire shitstorm.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of like, let's buy 4 or 5 different projects that make sense together as a roll up, and try to figure out a way to at least package those as something better together. I think that's a common track, but I think particularly now with boomers retiring, that like massive wealth transfer that's about to happen.
They call it the silver tsunami.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of opportunity. Companies that are, I mean, they're probably not even run on a spreadsheet because there weren't spreadsheets when they founded the business 55 years ago. So like it's like 15 core customers that, write really big checks because they trust the business over the last 5 decades. That could be turbocharged by adopting some of this stuff. Maybe that's the lift opportunity. I'm sure
there is that too, but a lot of these guys that are going to be in the silver tsunami, they don't want more business because they're not interested in growing their business. They've gotten comfortable. They're looking to retire. So if anything, they're trying to get rid of their clients because they want to kind of tone it down. Let's say one of the issues is that the kids don't want to adopt the business, their children. They have no interest. They want to do something else with their life. What do they do? Well, the only reasonable option is to get acquired at that point. So
that's the point, right? So transact the business.
No one's going to buy the business unless they adopt these new methods and technologies.
Which
and
they
the
don't
kids
want to
are going to take it over. So the business is going to die with the retirement of the individual who owns it, unless one of those two things happens. And the kids adopting the business is not going to happen because they don't want it. So it has to be the other option. But it's the willingness to do so. And that's part of almost like a message I want to put out to the world too. Just do it. Do you want the money from your business? Do you want your business to continue running, or do you just want to drive it into the ground?
Just do it. Yeah. Now wondering if you're kind of tapping onto a really good idea, right? Create a business to just reach out to those guys and help pair them with buyers that will do it for them, right? Someone who will install the right processes, and that change of ownership is your catalyst for the operational shift that needs to happen and take it to the next level.
I work with a guy named Chris. They have a PE company. They're acquiring civil engineering companies, and they do that exact thing because they know it's a problem. They're willing to do it and give them the resources for it, but it's up to them before they acquire. They'll say, do this, 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 and this. Once you've implemented that, we'll help you along the way, but you need to sign these contracts saying, like a promissory saying, yes, we can acquire this afterward, because they don't want to be in the nit and grit of it. They just want to give them the instructions on how to do it. If they have enough initiative to do it, then yes, they'll get acquired. If they don't, then they're not.
That's awesome. What's the results look like? Have you seen anything all the way through? And
they've done incredibly. They've done incredibly as a business, but that's only one very small vertical. I think they work with two, actually. It's like civil engineering and construction companies. But you could do that for software providers. You could do that for managed service providers. You could do that for trade, anything that you want. It all applies. As long as there's a business that's been taxed out, or it's really traditionalist, or it's one of the older, more boring industries, it's got to happen. I mean, an example of an enterprise that's still like that. I mean, look at Bank of America. Their entire system still runs on a green screen behind 6-foot thick steel walls in an underground basement in Manhattan, New York. And that green screen is written in Domino, which is a dead computer language.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we can say this out loud. We're on YouTube, but you're right. I mean, I don't know. We could go on a whole tangent about like cryptography and the future of money management and how the banks run on very, very, very dated system.
Yeah, but then you also have like the risk of like an EMP if it wipes out the servers, then that's pretty much all finance is just destroyed. There's no record of it. So the only thing left standing after nuclear war or an EMP is going to be Bank of America. That's the funny part. So it's kind of like maybe make a backup that's physical like that, or less advanced, where it just continuously just backs it up in that system. Who knows? But there's also other technologies out there that are EMP resistant that will actually ground all of the excess electricity and magnetic waves that still hasn't been implemented. And that's something that the DoD, the NSA, and all of them need to adopt. One of my clients does that. They've literally figured out the answer to the problem, and it also solves the phase balancing and the taxing of the grid issue, the amount of electricity used. We have to create 70% more electricity than what we use because of how the system's built. It all converts to heat, and it's all waste. How do we actually recycle that instead of it turning to heat in a transformer and put it back into the grid and redistribute? That's a whole different story, whole different time, different conversation now.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. All right, so back to this. Well, first, thank you for sharing all that stuff. That's super exciting, and I love that just came out. That's really fun to have on video. Yeah, back to our bad CRM idea. Like, how do we turn this into something good? So deleting records, we've clearly established, is a horrible idea for like the future of your business, regardless of where you're coming from. Like, how do we turn something like this into something of value? Like what about it is good, or at least directionally good, that we could turn into something exciting?
Well, I don't know really how to turn. Don't delete them is what's exciting. But it's not just that. It's like, you should delete some contacts. If they opt out, if they don't want to talk to you, you're invading their privacy. They want nothing to do with you. Don't just hit them back up in a year. Just get rid of those contacts. Some people just do not want to do business with you ever. And that's okay. Yeah. It doesn't mean, oh, yeah, there's a slight chance. We don't need more leads. It needs to be a removal process. It's a reduction process. There is a finite number of leads in the world. You don't need more. You need to understand your obtainable market. You need to target. You need to understand who you need to talk to and how to talk to them. It's not about whether there's more leads or not. It's about which leads should I be speaking to. So the delete your customers thing, no, but deleting the potentials that you're going to reach out to that are not going to be a fit, that's very important. That reduction process. When we reach out to 1,000 people, usually only about 10 respond. And maybe 4 out of those 10 respond positively. That's a huge waste. And it's how we got ourselves into this mess of this mass outreach, freaking, pump and dump, spray and pray process of marketing. It needs to get better. And so we need to get very specific with who we do business with. So the inverse of that, tracking as much data as possible on your customers, analyzing them, knowing who they are, what they believe in, what they like, what they're interested in, what they value, because people do business with people they know, like, and can trust, right? It's going to be that way, and it's always going to be that way, except with the exception of the consumer space. But in B2B, absolutely.
Well, I think B2C is going that way too. I think there's been so much junk the last 3 or 4 years. I think, people have to do proper brand building again. It's no longer.
Yeah. But so in B2C, people are attracted to the brand. In B2B, people are attracted to the people that they associate with the brand.
Yeah. Human touch.
Until you become like a monolith, like Salesforce or Microsoft or whatever, then you're just trusted by default because you're a blue chip company. That's an exception to the rule, but you had to have gotten to that monolithic level. Yeah. But the point is that if you understand who you sell to, you can target other people like it or like them, and you can understand who to talk to, who not to talk to. And even when you're doing an ABM approach, it's saying this person's going to block, this person's going to be a blocker too. They're not going to like me. They're not going to resonate with the product. We want to contact this, and this person. They know each other, get buy-in. And then by the time you get brought into the company, the people who would usually block the deal and bat it down from the very beginning are outvoted before you even get started.
That's a pretty good strategy. So, I mean, we're calling this not a reverse CRM, a reduction CRM. I'm kind of stealing that from what you said. And the purpose is just to narrow down the focus of your outreach.
Yeah, and it's okay to delete some customers. You want them historically, even if they sucked, but you want to avoid people that were horrible to work with. A bad customer is more expensive than no customer. Often they cost more than the amount that you're charging them. It's not worth bringing them in. Misselling is a disease in the marketplace. People missell all the time. because salespeople have such large unrealistic quotas shoved down their throat that they sell anybody who's living, breathing with a pulse. They don't care if it's a bad sale. So companies have massive churn rates simply because they're targeting the wrong way. They have the wrong messaging and they're bringing in the wrong people out during the discovery process. And it's out of desperation, really. You can't really blame the sales rep. It's what they were told to do.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So, I mean, it's just kind of funny because we think about CRM as a tool that empowers us to keep track of the things that are most important for us to be working on or doing at any given time. But in this, we're turning a reverse CRM into a reduction CRM. Rather than just add more noise and more things to focus on and more contacts to follow up with, you're recommending something that significantly reduces the focus of your time, so you can kind of deepen the relationship, right? Deepen touch points to strengthen a relationship, rather than flood a system with tons and tons and tons of prospects and contact touch points.
Right. I mean, a sales rep's time today is they're only spending between 12 to 24% of their time actually selling to a qualified prospect.
12%. And the rest of the time they're prospecting.
The time is spent.
What's the rest of the breakdown?
So the problem is that they have to do all the prospecting. They have to do the hit and miss stuff. There's disqualified leads left and right. They're doing research. And then they're also a large portion of their time is just doing erroneous, nonsensical admin work, right? Yeah. So they're sitting there doing all this stuff, and you're going to pay them for only 1/5 of their time is doing the job that you hired them for. How does that even make sense? And it's not their fault. It's the way that the system was created. Yeah. There's no effective way to sell. It can happen. It can be done. I've implemented processes like that with much higher success rates, rather than 0.1% of people responding positively or less, bringing it up to 4, maybe 6%. That is a massive delta. Massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're targeting the right people.
Yeah. I mean, talk me through. So obviously don't give away secret sauce. We'll talk about how people can get in touch with you at the end of the podcast, but talk me through what an optimal daily allocation of time looks like. So, versus 12%, which is the baseline spent selling the right person. When you guys get folks set up the right way, like kind of the standard that you've set within Revenue Hitman Consulting.
So this is going to sound like a political response to that, but it's the truth. It's so variable. Every company is different. Every product is different. Every marketplace is different. So it depends on the company. It depends on the sales team. It depends on how it's structured. Do they have BDRs that pass to SDRs, and then SDRs that pass to AEs, then AEs that pass to SEs, and then SEs that pass to AMs? Is that your structure? Or do you just have full cycle sales AE, and then it passes to a CS, manager?
Well, for the purpose of this call, just really basic. Assume it's like old school AE. There's no SDR structure, so it's just a single point of contact during prospecting and sales.
So full
like
cycle.
In an ideal world,
they start at the very beginning from prospecting all the way to the close.
Yeah, like how much time should they be spending in communication live with the right prospect? In your eyes?
I mean, ideally as much time as possible. That's the thing.
But we've got 4%,
more than 50% of their time should be spent
50 plus. Yeah. Interesting.
At least. But it's about the targeting. It's about how you set it up. It's about the operations behind it. It's about do you know how to segment lead lists and how to actually source them? Do you know how to create content to bring leads in direct for inbound? How it depends on are you doing an outbound approach? Are you doing an inbound approach? Are you doing a hybrid approach of inbound and outbound? Are you doing paid advertising? All of these factors, that's part of why I'm a RevOps guy. Revenue operations touches every division: sales, marketing, customer success, product and engineering, service, procurement, finance, and accounting. All of it. All of it. So I work through each of these for a unified data-driven process that is a customer-obsessed strategy. That's the goal, because the customer needs to win every time, and buyer safety is incredibly important. And you can thank my mentor, Marcus Kauke, for the buyer safety term, right? Yeah. No one wants buyer remorse. You buy something, 30 days later, you wish you didn't, and you're stuck in a contract. That's their worst fear. So how do you provide as much value as possible on every single turn? And if salespeople are building relationships, just because they're not selling direct and pitching to somebody does not mean that they're not selling. Remember what I said about future pipeline? Whether it's 6 months down the road, a year down the road, or it's tomorrow, that prospect should be treated the same. And every touch point is not, hey, how's it going? Just wanted to know what the status was. No, if you're not adding value, you have no reason to open your mouth. So figure out how to add value to that individual every single step of the way. Then you're selling most of the time, whether it's future or current pipeline. That's what people don't understand. They think now, short-term thinking approach. It should always be long-term, because in the end, long-term is the only thing that actually matters, unless you're in a serious money crunch. That's where the obsession starts when they start a business, but then that obsession never leaves.
Yeah, so it's perpetual. You're always thinking short-term, never building long-term. It's like,
I know I didn't answer your question directly, but there is no direct answer to it.
Yeah, well, but you did say 50%, right? Like, I think that's a really interesting.
I'm not saying 100%. I'm not saying 75%. If half of your time is spent talking to people who actually have a high probability of converting, that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound perfect. You're bringing up a good point. 12% is the average or the baseline. It's the other 80%
those are
of your time is
2019
with waste.
statistics. It's actually probably gotten worse. I don't know.
So it's even worse. Well, then maybe this is a good idea if we convert it from a reverse CRM to a reduction CRM, specifically engineered to prevent people from wasting any more of their time.
Yeah, the problem and the whole this ties into oh God, what the hell's the word for it? I forgot. That's how awful it is. Territories. Yeah. Selling in territories. Okay, you get New York, you get California, you get Nevada, you get whatever. However it's structured. Sometimes they even do it down to the city, right? Like you get New York City, you get Albany, you get Rochester, like just in New York alone. People should not be selling based on geographical spots. We are in a the whole universe is connected. Everybody can talk to each other at all times. Who does that person, that sales rep that you have, resonate with best? Is it with people who like sports? Is it with men? Is it with women? Is it with somebody who is more analytical in their mindset? Like, what's their disc profile? Is it someone who's a commander? Is it somebody who is more of like an analytical researcher? Certain people can talk to certain people and get along. If you throw a high D, a high dominant sales rep in front of someone who's a high C, right, on the disc scale, they will never get along. They're going to think that sales rep is a complete dick who rushed them, no matter what you say, because they don't like your personality. People do business with people they know, like, and could trust, right? Again. So it's about focusing on who should be selling to who at a human level, not at a geographical or an industry level. It doesn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah, this is awesome. How do people, so I don't know what your capacity is like right now, but how do people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about, engaging you to help build out their systems? Like, what's the best way?
Sure. I mean, you can contact me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/the-RevOps-Hitman. That's REVOPS. And then my email is rob@revopshitmanconsulting.co. And then I'm not going to give my phone number. I've done that once before. So yeah, if you connect with me on LinkedIn and ask me to talk to you, and that you heard from me from this podcast, feel free to just let me know. If you email me, just reference it, because I need context. I'm that type of guy. Just, where did you hear from me from? And then I'll know what it's all about.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely get some taps. I think people are trying to rebuild the way that they sell right now. It's a good time. It's a strange economy.
About 10 years late with that, but yeah, sure.
But at least you're doing something, right? We started the podcast with just doing it, and at least they are. So getting some guidance, I think, would be great. Look, man, I'm super grateful you came on. We turned something kind of insane, destroying your own data, into something really interesting, which is creating focus.
You want to manipulate it. You want to augment it. You want to make it actionable. Data actionability is one of the greatest suffering points of the entire marketplace, both small business and enterprise. They don't know how to use it. Or they don't collect enough, or they don't collect the right information, or they don't know how to manipulate it. There's so many issues with it. We don't need more leads. We need to know how to make the data work for us so that we can contact less with a higher success rate. It's that simple.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, which is amazing.
And a quick question for you, Nick. How does your team come up with these? I'm just curious.
So they have a research process. We actually do use a little bit of AI, but we find things on Reddit. There's like entire threads on really bad business ideas, and sometimes the votes cue us in on things that are good. We also have inbound. So on badideaspodcast.co, there's a form right at the top of the page where you can submit your own bad idea. And we take all those together and we run them through a bot that's trained on our past episodes. So it kind of compares what we have to what's in the list and the votes. and picks the ones that cross section. I think this one, we kind of got lucky. It was a CRM for a RevOps guy. That doesn't happen very often. So we went into some like real places. Usually we're just talking about a silly idea, but this was meaningful. And then I don't prep for it either. So they just kind of send me a Google slide and like 5 minutes before the podcast, and I hop
best way to do it. To you. Best way to do it, fully organic, because structured podcasts never make it.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm really grateful. I think this was good. We'll make sure your links are on the YouTube episode when it goes live, and hopefully folks get in touch with you soon.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.